Okay, folks, good morning. Saturday morning edition. Got a new cardboard here. A new recycled piece of something. When we get started, I'm not going to be well, we're only going to be able to be on until about 8 o'clock. It's still almost over 2 hours. And we will not be on here tomorrow morning. We'll try to be on here tomorrow evening, but tomorrow morning, the plan right now is to not be here. As I like to say, if things don't go according to plans, I was kicking and screaming. But that's how it looks like right now. Oh, you're going to start blowing away? You bastard. Stay there. All right, let's see where the hell we left off. Boy, this is not an enjoyable experience every time I have to open this. But, zero mold. No mold smell. I need to take these pennies out and see if it's the pennies. But if the pennies are doing something, you'd think it'd collect on the penny and basically mold free. I didn't know why there was even mold on the other one to begin with. Kevin, early morning, man. It's not too bad. How the hell are you? What do you do? I mean, I know you're on here all the time. What do you do on here? Do you paint? Do you kind of do something in the background? Do you do some grinding? I don't mean like you're doing something, you shouldn't be doing. I'm just saying, playing a game and kind of mindless doing stuff. Grinding in a video game, that's nothing inappropriate. I think we got this guy done last time. I think that's where we left off. We got him done. All right, we got these three guys to do. Got it. Good morning, Mr. Ian. Okay, we're going to paint this mongoloid dude. Are Huns mongoloids? I don't know, they are today. All right, what color jacket do we have? I want to do in this guy. I want to do like a bluish type color. I don't have one of those, do I? No, just slightly, just a hint of blue. You spend a lot of time on your phone. Yeah, we all do. I was finding out that a couple years ago, I was getting a headache every morning because I would go in and I would sit. I have this light blue colored chair that's out in the living room, and I'd look at the phone, and in the last 5 years, I basically, if I have to look at my phone, I either have to wear my reading glasses or just take off my glasses, which of course, when I do that, the phone is this big. It's huge. But I was having really bad posture. I was messing up my neck, basically. I think we're all doing that to some degree or whatever. But at least we're getting our money's worth out of these overpaid things, these portable computers. I'm going to use a new color that I just bought yesterday. I think it's here. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. It's kind of watery. Hope I don't regret it. So, I saw in some advertisement, you don't paint a lot, but I do spend time putting monuments together. I like doing that too. A lot. Probably more than I should. So I was probably on Facebook or something like that. And I got this advertising and I fell for it, I guess. Although it's not really a bad thing. So when you fall for advertising and it's a good thing, is that really bad? This app called, and I'm not an app person because I do not have an Apple phone. I have no plans to ever have an Apple phone. Too warm here to paint today. Sorry, I'm in Florida. You're not going to get any sympathy from me unless you're trying to paint like in your garage. And then, no, that would be way too warm for me. So I actually know of somebody that supposedly can't paint over the summer because of the heat. And I'm like, what difference does it make? I said, well, I paint in the garage. I'm like, I wouldn't paint at all if I painted the garage. That's a deal breaker right there for me. But anyway, so I fell for this advertising, and I'm doing this in the wrong order. I need to do the horse first. But we are going to do a light gray colored thing. Let's see. He's probably going to go with him. So let's just do a... let's do a lighter color one. Let's do this. This app that I find, I'm not an app person, so because it seems like all the iPhones get all the cool apps, and us Android guys are kind of kicked off to the curb. But I don't want to relearn how to use my phone, and I'd like to have something not made in China. So that's why I have an Android phone, which I'm very happy with. I don't want to try to figure out how to paint in a different way. I mean, not how to film in a different way and all that shit. But anyways, I digress. So this app called Paint Rack, and supposedly what Paint Rack, and I've actually been looking for something like this. I didn't need anything really complicated, just some way to organize what paints I have, so that when I go to a convention and I need to refill a color, I have somewhere handy that shows it. Nothing complicated. I don't need something that like adds complementary colors or color wheels or something like that. I've never bought a color wheel. I don't need to. I don't think that what we do is complex enough for color wheels. The thing is I'm using paints as a starting point, so I don't need to like take this brown and go, okay, how do I make it go to purple and then color wheel? I don't need that. I'll just grab a purple and start modifying from there. But it's got way too many things that you don't need. And like that one, I found out after I got it. There's several others that people recommended, but it's too late. You should have caught me before I bought the app. Not that it's expensive or anything, but so I categorized all my paints, and then I went to the hobby store, and it's pretty cool. Like if you're low on something, you can actually order it from Amazon there if you wanted to, which isn't a good value. $7 for one paint. Oh, but it's shipped. Yeah, but that's just too much. I don't need to order one paint. This is a color that we use for the yellowish color. Sometimes I mix black, sometimes I mix brown. I really don't have a preference. And it makes it look kind of greenish. I cover most of it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the other night I spent about 2 hours entering all of my, and you can scan the color, the paints in there as well. You know, with the UPC code on the paint, if it's readable. And I have many paints they're relatively, well, what year is it? It's 2022, and shit, some of them are 20 years old. And so some UPC codes I couldn't read. There's actually like 4 paints I couldn't enter of the however many I've got. So that was kind of a cool little tool. But I went to the hobby store yesterday and went with my wish list, which are paints that I needed to refill, and realized that they didn't have the variety that I thought they did. So I think maybe on Sunday, if I get back early enough, I may go to the game store as opposed to the hobby store and see if they have any army painter ones to. But you can categorize it by what paints you have. So at a glance you can. The only thing that none of the apps seem to have is an accurate representation of what the color looks on the screen. And I think that's just, that's too much to ask. You have a park here called the Greenbelt. It's a river today. Man, raining in Arizona stand. Good morning, Dirk. No air conditioning here. Oh, I'm out. It was 90 degrees inside my home yesterday afternoon. It's forecast to be warmer today. How do you fall asleep at night with no air conditioning? Fill the bathtub, sleep there. 35 degrees Fahrenheit here at the moment at 10 p.m. Oh, you lucky bastard. Wouldn't it be funny if Color Wheel called the shades what craft paints call them? Yeah. I did pick up a craft paint. Daybreak. It's like a happy sunny side up egg. I don't know. We'll work that in somewhere. It was like $1 freaking 19. So here's my whole reasoning why can't we make things in the United States? Or maybe it should be, why do we have to make everything in China? This is the cheapest paint out there, right? And it's made in the U.S. It's made in the freaking U.S. It's made in Norcross, Georgia. One state up. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, it's a happy color. It probably won't cover worth a shit, but I had a gift certificate that if you want to make it really difficult for people to spend their money, if you want to have a racket, come up with these things, okay? You give these to people. It's a gift card. I got it for my birthday. It's not that I regret getting it, but the person who bought it paid an amount on there to have it on the card, like under $10, but more than $5. I forget what it is. And then they give you a certain amount of cards. You cannot use this, or have not been able to use it for online purchases. The problem is now I do 97.3% of my purchase, but basically everything but groceries online, because stores don't have things. I can't spend it online. So, and I tried multiple times. So I had to try to use that, and I was really skeptical that it'll work on the paint. So that's why I got paint yesterday, because I don't need any. But you can't get things at stores anymore. Nothing. They don't have anything. Well, yeah, they do, but they just don't have anything I need. No, that's a good thing. I don't need anything, but I'm sure there's a bunch of those that basically people buy them and they never get used, or they get lost, or what have you. Careful showing that number. Okay. Well, there's not much money on there left. It's like $5. I'm too trusting, Ben. I couldn't use it. I couldn't use it online to buy anything with. But I'm sure that there's a lot of people that didn't use those things. So I was like, man, I need to use this at the grocery store. I'm going to forget using it. Same thing with cash. Somebody paid me in cash yesterday and I'm sitting on it. I just don't use cash. That's supposedly the reason behind is this going to happen more and more often to me as I get older? Geez, I'm not that old. My brain's burnt with interruptions, though, especially this last week. And I mean work interruptions, not hobby interruptions. Rebates. That's the word. That's supposedly the deal with the rebates, is they figure a certain amount of people are not going to do them or forget to do them, and they gave you a discount but never gave it to you. I don't sleep much in this weather. Fortunately, it's only for a few days each year. No air conditioning. Holy moly. Yeah, see, I can deal without electricity. I can't deal without air conditioning. Figure that one out. $90. That's like inside of Mitch's playroom, his shed. That's basically what it is. It's a glorified shed with no insulation. And yeah, it's got two ceiling fans, but what good is it to move around air that's 95 degrees? You know. Man, Historicon was nice. It must have been in the mornings. It was almost too cold. It must have been 66 or something like that. It must have been really, really cold. Which isn't too cold for me. I just wasn't dressed for that. But it didn't take long for the warm bodies to warm that up. But at certain points, I'm like, damn it, it's freaking like 30 degrees or 30 degrees cooler than what we play in. Not a complaint, just like, man, I wish I could do that at home. Because I can't turn the thermostat lower than 72 at the house. I can't. And I don't when we're not here. It's not affordable. And you'd freeze the unit outside. And that's what we sleep with it at 72. And in the wintertime, I don't turn the heater on. That's free air conditioning. I woke up one day and it was 53 degrees in the house with no windows open. Because it does get cold here. It'll get into the teens a couple times a year. Wish it was more often than that, but... You know how much you'd have to pay for 53 degrees Fahrenheit in your house? And you get it free. You know? But I'm pretty much convinced just about everybody complains about the weather no matter where they live. Maybe people in Antarctica complain about it a little bit more. But no air conditioning, wow. When it's hurricane season and you lose power, which it really doesn't happen that much. We're fortunate that we kind of live in an area where they're not interested in coming by here. Always worried about losing power and then having no air conditioning for a few days. The rest of it, no electricity. I was painting my Nan Chow when I was working on the last time we had a storm that came by and we lost power. I was working on my Nan Chow and I kept right on working on them. I put one of those little, almost kind of like those vision things with the little lights. It almost looks like that night vision thing that Splinter Cell guy did from one of those early video games. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. He's got the lights over there by his eyes. Of course, those are night visions. You guys remember that game way back then? It was basically you had to sneak around and you'd have a pistol. You'd have a silenced pistol and you'd end up taking somebody out that had like an AK and you could never pick any more ammo up. And I'm not really one for... I don't like sneaking around games. Like, I don't really like playing in submarine games. I've played submarine games before, and I don't care about killing merchantmen. I want to go after battleships. So, if I play something where I have a gun in a video game, I don't want to, not use it. I don't use a gun on a daily basis every day in my life. It's a video game. It's your chance to do it. 6 degrees is comfortable, not cold. Cold is when white stuff falls out of the sky. Well, it was cold when it was breezy, and I was wearing freaking shorts. And I wasn't prepared for it. And I'm drinking iced coffee everywhere, so But no, it's not cold. I'd live, I've got no problem with that. Just kind of surprised me. But I can play in cold weather. Way back when, it was only last week, wasn't it? Well, how old are you? Jeez. Except at work. At work, things have happened 20 years ago and it seemed like it was just the other day. I really don't have. I really don't have a concept of time when it comes to being at work. I've almost been there 29 years, so I don't understand these people that switch jobs every year. I mean, I guess if you get fired or something, but I just got another 15 or so to go. So I think. Splinter Cell was what? 2001? 2002, something like that? Let's get this gummy stuff off here. It's funny, my immediate boss, and I never think of myself as being old, and I'm not, but my immediate boss is, I've been at work at this job longer than he's been alive. Oh, man. Release date? Oh, my God. Oh, so it's 2002. So you did play it. I didn't like the sneaking around. I'm like, I just need... I mean, you went in with like 2 magazines. I don't even know if you had a second magazine in the game. You may have only had one. So what did you have, like 17 rounds or something like that? I don't remember. I'll have to fire it up. I still have the original Xbox. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to get rid of it. I have some fond memories of some games on that original Xbox. It was basically the console wars. I didn't have one for the longest time. And I wanted to get one. And at the time, when Blockbuster was in its heyday, you could actually rent the whole console at Blockbuster. So I rented them both with a few games. What would it have been? A PlayStation 2? I guess it would have been a PlayStation 2. And the Xbox. Because the PlayStation 1 is like very earlier than that. And I just like the Xbox better. I like the games that came on that were available on the Xbox better. You know. And so I got one of those and some fond memories playing some of those games, but probably the coolest game that not a lot of people knew about for those systems was a game called Gladius. And it was almost like a gladiatorial combat in a fantasy world. And it wasn't high fantasy. I mean, your main characters were like, you could play like a barbarian character, a barbarian, like almost like a Viking girl, or you could play like a male, like Roman gladiator guy. And you kind of went through building your teams and going from place to place, doing matches. But when you did the match, it was like a board. It was almost like a miniatures game, and it would be you'd go from turn to turn, and you could draw on there where you wanted to move to, and then do your attack. And the attack could either be done automatically, or you could do it so that you had to hit a certain number of bars at the right time. And it sounds really complicated, but it wasn't. I don't like those hit things at the right time. It was a cool game. It was a really, really cool game. And you could hire like, satyrs that, threw like javelins and bowmen. And, you could only have like 4 guys on a team for this event, or maybe you only had 3 and it had to be of a certain weight class. It was kind of a cool game, Anyone in the group have a Tuareg army? I think Luke just bought one. That'd be painted for something else. I prefer Mafia. I don't think I've ever played Mafia. And Grand Theft Auto to stealth games. Okay. Yeah, I don't like stealth games either. Grant, I like open world stuff. I've played a couple of the Assassin's Creed Greek one. I know it's hokey. They're all hokey. They're games, but if they excite you about history, it's even better. You know, the Assassin's Creed that's set in Greece is really cool. I like those where you're like, you got to go from here to there, and you just see something in the game. You're like, I wonder what the F is up there. So walk your ass up there and check it out. And maybe it's something that gets you killed, but at least you got to see what the hell was in that house. You know, my daughter and I were playing those for a while together. I guess she's got out of video games. I guess she's not going to turn into a gamer. But people that are always like dissing on gamers, or even the stuff that we're doing, like, all you do is play games. Well, all you do is watch television. And at least I'm making decisions while I'm playing whatever it is that I'm doing. You know, that's why I like gaming, because it's like television that you get to decide, you know? It's not like you're just sitting there going, and if you watch it or not, it still turns out the same, you know? There's a game with similar gameplay to Gladius called Expeditions Conquistador. It's a temptation only if I get to make the world Spain. I know Spain wasn't a thing then. Is it for computers, or I'll look it up. That's right, Don. That game was written for me. I just don't. It just doesn't keep my interest anymore. Like when Rome Total War came out, was about the time I got into DBA, and I played that a lot while I was building my Roman armies. And then and then it just becomes like, okay, this is a really cool game. And then you encounter something in a game that's just stupid. Like you're like, let's encounter the Egyptians. Why the hell are they using chariots? Why are the Egyptians in Roman times using freaking chariots? Well, this is freaking stupid. So then you find a mod called Rome Total Realism, and then it gets rid of that, and it's a much better game. And then, while you're playing that game, you find another mod called Europa Barbarorum, and it was freaking awesome. And then eventually it gets tiring, and and your computer doesn't work anymore for about 10 years. And I got Rome Total War 2. It's just too much. There's too many things other than the combat game going on. And I haven't been able to play it for much stretches at a time. And I just can't grasp, I just can't get the naval combat. It's just so difficult to do the naval combat. But I guess it's pretty cool that the video games aren't addictive anymore. I can't sit there for hours and hours. I'll fire it up, and 30 minutes later, I'm like, let me go back to painting. So that's a good thing. They all have their limitations. I was going to get this game the other day. It was advertised by somebody on Facebook. They said it was down to $10. And I don't usually buy them at full price because I'm going to get tired of them anyway. So why overpay? And called U-Boat. It's a U-Boat simulator. But apparently you can only play one class of U-Boat. Well, what's the point in that? We just had a game con last week. Game on Expo. Was kind of disappointed. It was majorly electronic games. There's an equal to exceptions that's set in Rome. I think they're both PC only in ancient Rome. Okay, I'll check it out. I got a PC. I didn't for 8 years. I mean, I had one at work. I could use my wife's. We walk around with one in our pocket. I couldn't justify using it. making these videos is one more use I can get out of it. So yeah, when this thing dies, I'll buy another one. You know, they have a finite lifespan, unfortunately, but I couldn't justify it just for video games. Well, I'm an adult. I can buy whatever the hell I want, but you need to kind of set parameters for not everybody can have everything, and not everybody has time for everything. So that's what I mean about justifying it. I don't want to buy something and then realize I don't use it. That's a poor choice. Yeah, I played the medieval one as well, Medieval Total War 2. So I played as Spain, of course, and after I stomped everybody after a while, I'm like, well, I don't need to play any other nations. I think I tried to play like the Sicilian Normans or something like that a couple times, but I just never had a big interest in playing any of the other nations. It's just a lot of grinding and not a lot of new stuff that you encounter. I got the Attila one. I bought the Attila one on sale recently. Played it a couple times. Figured basically for inspiration for this. There is none, you know. Got the Chinese one, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms one. Way too complicated. You know, the thing is that I've got nobody to play those things with. So, you know, if we did those on game night and we sit down and look at something over with somebody and talked about it, you know, it would be, you'd appreciate all those details where it's like, you know, you're just playing by yourself. What's the point? And it's going to keep me from painting. And anybody can play a video game. But one of my favorite ones of all time that I still occasionally play, I haven't played it in a little while, is a zombie game called State of Decay. And what makes the game cool is it's kind of open world. It's kind of open world because the world's not huge. But you do have to hunt for treasure. You do have to go and like, I wonder what's in the house. You break in the house and you know you find out that there's a revolver in there and like shotgun shells, but no more rounds for the revolver. So you have to find them, and you know you could kind of manage a base and stuff, and it's not really complicated management, but it's enough that you need to keep finding supplies and stuff like that. And I've really liked that game, and it's a Microsoft thing only, so it's available on the PC or on the consoles where I've played it. And I don't know anybody who's played that game. I don't know why. I don't know, you know. And I'm not necessarily into zombie games for the purpose of the zombies. I like the zombie games because there's no rules and you can do whatever the hell you want. But it's not really the zombies per se that makes it worth a damn. But it is a treasure hunt. So if you're playing some kind of a treasure hunt game and you stop finding treasure, the game stops being, you know, entertaining. You don't need to find it all the time, and it can be challenging, but you know, when you got to you got to jump through so many hurdles to find something that's better. You know, I kind of lose interest in like, I'm just go do something else. The grinding. So I haven't fired up the console in probably 4 months. That's okay. I was playing the Field of Glory game on computer, and almost immediately had a pretty good clue what I was doing. This is a couple of years ago. And then realized I'm entering in all these tournaments, and the first thing I got to do each morning is do my turns. And I'm not getting anything done that I want to do, and it just becomes like homework. And I'm like, I had to stop doing that. That was starting to become more trouble than it's worth. And there's things about that system I like a lot. The thing I like the least is probably there's no pip mechanism. You could do whatever the hell you want with everybody up to their maximum ability as long as they're in good order, which I don't really like that. That's how every other game is that I've played other than DBA. I'm sure there's other games like DBA that don't allow you to do that, but that's what's kept me from trying Impetus, is you can do whatever you want as long as the unit's in good order. There he is. Good morning, Victor. That's why we need our guns to fight the zombie apocalypse. Except the zombie apocalypse isn't what you thought it was. There's people walking around in masks, not talking to each other. Oh, man. I hope that doesn't come back. Or maybe it hasn't gone away. I don't know. So, the moral of the story is I want to interact with people. I don't want to just play games with people online that you never get to see. I don't want to talk to, a 7-year-old with a 4 foot tall with a 5 foot mouth. My brother, which I don't interact with much often. We didn't really grow up together. He's a few years younger than me, but he does a lot. I don't know if he still does, but he used to do a lot of online gaming. And one of the things he liked to do was to freaking get into arguments and yelling and cussing people out. And I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? It's not like you're going to argue with somebody and all of a sudden it's like, you're right. I'm going to change how I live just because of this conversation that we're having. I'm like, I'm not burning calories on you. I don't even know you. So I rarely play online games, and when I do, I don't turn my microphone on and I don't listen to other people's communication. Too many 7-year-olds, The 7 and 8-year-olds' parents are just buying them whatever the hell they want. Oh, this is a mature rated game. Whatever. As long as they don't interfere with us doing our freaking heroin, They talked about that on Gutfield today. People not getting together much anymore. Well, Gutfeld, sorry. I don't watch news shows. He's entertaining. I'm okay with people being entertaining, even though they're obviously on one side or the other of the spectrum. I was listening to clips and a guy that, and I've said this before, I probably disagree with 95% of what this guy says, but I find I really should write the person's name down before I bring them up, because here I am again drawing a blank. Well, I don't think about celebrities at all day long. Even the cute ones. I just don't think about them, What's his name? Bill Maher. But Bill Maher is really entertaining. And I probably disagree with maybe 90, 85% of what, But it's just a shtick. That's his thing. But he's entertaining, so. Some people are like, oh, it says, this guy says it. It must be true. Oh, this guy said it. It must all be wrong. It's all a shtick. For all you know, I might be a 7-year-old girl pretending to be a 60-year-old man online. Hey, if you paint miniatures, you're on my team. I pulled my stats up. Now I've got a fair amount of people now that, I mean, not a lot by any amount, but you know, we're closing in on 2,000, right? 2,000 subscribers. None of them are women. And it, you know, and it doesn't bother me. It's just, this is something that doesn't appeal to, you know, if I had a needlecraft show, okay, there wouldn't be any dudes there, you know, whatever, you know. My daughter doesn't even want to go into a game shop. Daddy, those guys are weird. Yes, they are. But there's a difference between being nerdy, being a nerd burglar, and being weird. There's a difference between the two things. And I think just about everybody nerds out over something. Oh, I'm just into sports. You're a sports nerd. You know, you don't know what the freaking capital of Austria is, but you know how many freaking yards this dude that you've never met runs last week. You're a sports nerd. Get back in the box. So everybody freaking nerds out over something, you know. Mine just happens to be about stuff that used to happen that I didn't get to participate in. Thankfully, I don't want to be in ancient warfare, but, you know, real stuff. How about those social media TikTok addicts? That is the dumbest shit ever. And the only reason I ever encounter any of that stuff is I'll be like trying to go through my hobby groups or whatever, and here's another TikTok. I don't give a shit about TikTok. You know? It's freaking, hey, let's do this dance. Okay, let's see. You have no talent, so let's do that. I believe I'm smart and I like sports. Well, there's nothing liking about sports, but they'll be like, oh, you're into history stuff. Yeah, well, you're into stats that somebody else did. All right, we're about to add the white to this thing. And of course, Mr. White died out. So last night, it's a confessional morning. You're a military history nerd, not an apologetic. Yep. Is it a confessional morning? It always is a confessional morning, Skylab. You know that. And you're up early, so there's that. So last night we watched the last 007 installment on our crusade from beginning to the end. And I'll say it again. I've seen all of them. I just don't remember, some of them I saw 40 years ago. This one being one of them. So we saw the last official Connery one last night, the Diamonds one. And I think the secret to watching Bond movies is have a really low expectations, because the ones I thought were going to really suck, I've actually enjoyed. And I actually enjoyed the movie. And yes, it was dorky, but I think that's what I like. I don't like the ones that try to be too serious. And I actually enjoyed it. But I was watching the movie, and I told my brother, I'm gonna mention this if it comes up. It was a movie that was ahead of its time. That movie was ahead of its time because it had 2 gay characters and cross-dressing in it. And it's 50. Well, how old am I? It's the same year as I am. It's 51 years old. Eric Jan Renting, good morning. Yeah, 007, well, I grew up with it. I grew up with them. I've seen all of them except like 3, including the latest one that nobody likes. Well, I gotta work my way to it. And it's funny, I'd seen this movie before. I must have been 13 when I saw it. And it's funny the parts that you remember. Like I remember, of course, the little moon vehicle. I remember the casket in the incinerator. I don't remember how it tied into anything, but I remembered that part. Um, yeah, there was a couple other things that came up. Yeah, they're stupid, but not any more than just about every movie now. I've always enjoyed them. But, are they realistic? No. Are they entertaining? Well, sometimes. They're better than Harry Potter movies. I can't sit through one of those for more than like 12 minutes. I've tried watching the first movie twice, just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And many other movies. Just take themselves too seriously. And a part of it is this nostalgia that you have as a kid watching things. That's why I grew up watching Star Wars. That's why, the original ones. That's why I'm okay with it. If you were to watch them now, you'd be like, these movies are stupid. Yeah, well, you didn't grow. You don't have fond memories of them as a kid. You know. You got to be careful. This white is very powerful. Just a little goes a really long way. Movies have to have Asian, African Americans, gays. Why aren't Native Americans complaining? I don't know. Too much whiskey? The complaints don't go to the reservation? I don't know. I think it's ridiculous to. What was I watching the other day? Oh, I was watching some colonial movie, and they had like white people dressed up as Afghanis, and I'm like, I don't find it offensive. I find it like stupid. Like, why didn't they? What's that? What's the Western movie that everybody likes? Good, bad, and the ugly. Why did they get somebody from New York to play a Mexican? Come on. What, there weren't any Mexicans in the '60s? Yeah, it's just dumb. It's not. I don't think it's offensive. I think it's just dumb. You know. I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, and I'm like, I'm all for having other groups that haven't been included before in movies, but I think it's stupid to do something like Ran. Okay, the movie Ran that just about everybody likes, the Japanese samurai movie. Awesome, we have a samurai movie. We get to learn about another culture. Oh, it's King Lear. Why do you have to stick Shakespeare in ancient Japan? Like, certainly there's interesting thing. I mean, that place is rich full of history that we could all learn about. Like, why don't you make movies about that? You know? Instead of like, hey, let's make Superman black. Let's learn about freaking black history like in Africa. They had some cool freaking kingdoms with horses, with freaking cataphract armor and all kinds of do that, man. There's some cool stuff that happened over there. You don't have to make things up. Like, inform people about, things that happen. I think it's really interesting to learn about other cultures. It's not about like, oh, we gotta, make these guys better than just tell the story how it is. There's all kinds of really cool history that people don't know about. I don't know. I'm looking at it from a different viewpoint, though. I want to like. My wife says I like to read books for the purpose of learning, not for entertainment, and it's true. I do. You know. Who is it? Is it Khorasan? It's either Khorasan or Eureka. I think Khorasan makes a Western Sudanese army, and Eureka makes Abyssinians. And both of those figures look awesome. If I didn't have that much of a backlog, I'd do. And they're both pretty good armies, especially the West Sudanese one. And they got like knights and heavy foot and bows. I don't know why this is. We need to put some more water on here. I'll be right back. Learning is my entertainment. It is. It's super cool. What was that movie about the African boy in the Coke bottle? Oh, the gods must be crazy. The gods must be crazy. I remember that movie came out in the movie theaters. I should say that because I believe it was filmed in the early 80s or late 70s, but it didn't come out of the movie theater here in Florida until 1984 or 85, one of those 2 years. Because I remember going to the movie theater. I could either watch that or Top Secret, and I picked that one. And I saw Top Secret several years later, and saw Top Secret with the right person. You know that person that when you watch things, the movie becomes that much funnier? Yeah, we almost peed ourselves freaking laughing at Top Secret. And yes, freaking stupid as hell, but that's not the point, you know? I want to see a white gay playing Shaka Zulu. Why? Why? That's dumb. That's not even funny, Dirk. Somebody will come up with that. It'll be somebody that identifies as one of those African trees that grows upside down. Because those are in the same part of the world. I forget. You know which ones I'm talking about. The trees in Africa that look like they're actually grown. Obviously they're not, but saw one the other day when I was researching Thracians. Google suggested, were Thracians black? As a question to ask. I just closed my browser and went outside. I think you just disenfranchise black history doing that. I mean, I'm serious, there's all kinds of cool stuff about their own things that, like I never watched I heard there was a black Viking queen and on the Viking season 2 of the Valhalla. I'm not watching that. It's just dumb, you know? It's stupid. How about John Wayne playing a Mongol? I haven't seen that one. No, the problem with John Wayne is really good at playing John Wayne. He's not very good at anything else. And that's fine, and I think that's, most actors are that way. So if you don't like the person they portray, you probably don't need to see any of his movies. That's why I don't like Bogart. Because Bogart does Bogart, and I can't stand him, Bogart is almost, listening to Bogart is like 2 steps away from Howard Cosell. And Howard Cosell has got to be the most annoying person I've ever listened to. He's like basically a slow-speaking Gilbert Gottfried that's not funny. Because I can appreciate Gilbert Gottfried because he's hilarious and he gets angry and shit like that. Or did. Now they're hanging out together, maybe. That came up the other day. There was something about Howard Cosell, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't watch sports. And I remember back then, I'm like, what an annoying freaking voice. He might have been a great guy, but man, I just couldn't stand his voice. There were blacks in the Roman Empire. Yeah, there were nearby. And the Romans didn't discriminate. I would say most of the Roman slaves were probably Celts. I'm just going to take a stab at it. They probably were. Because Thracians are Celtish, you know. They worked their way through there, a mixture of different things. All sports commentators are annoying. Yeah. I could stand that voice. Nails on a chalkboard. Oh, well, I'm sure I irritate people every day. Whatever. I'm still waiting for my merit badge. I was watching a movie the other day, and 55 Days of Peking, and then I realized, I know I'm about to speak sacrilege to some people. Freaking get a grip, okay? It's just an actor, and they're dead, and just take it for what it's worth. I don't really care for Charlton Heston, because Charlton Heston only does Charlton Heston, and he's almost kind of like. Something about the meter in his voice is almost a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Almost like he's trying a little too hard to like speak. I don't know. He's not fluid enough. I don't dislike him. I just don't. Mitch freaking loves him. And I'm like, you could do better than that. I know, he made a hell of a lot more money acting than I ever will. You grew up with Howard, always covered the Olympics when it was big. I'd turn that shit off. Best thing about seeing sports live is that you don't have two idiots whittering in your ear throughout the game. That's it. Fatwa against Tony. No, I was just watching 55 Days of Peking, and I'm like, freaking David Niven's in it. Who wants to see freaking Charlton Heston if you got David Niven? David Niven is freaking awesome. Oh, and by the way, as a kid that grew up in the 70s, to me, that's what people in England sound like, is David Niven. Not, these people from Essex that you have on your shows and stuff like that. I grow up and I'm like, they invented the language. Why are they speaking that way over there? And they're not even Scottish. Guys got to get your. What did I hear the other day? Oh man, last night I busted out laughing with the line, and I'll have to find it. And it's a line that Blofeld says to the Charles Gray Blofeld says to 007 about why he was interfering in. It's something about like, I didn't even threaten your insignificant little island or something like that. And it just made me bust out laughing. English is actually a German language. Well, it was until 1066. Celts, Germans, and Greeks, pretty much everyone they could catch or conquer. Absolutely. Mr. Turnbull, good morning. Yep. An equal opportunity enslaver. Yep. The biggest surprise to me about Europe was that the accents could be radically different just a few towns away. Yeah, no kidding. Well, I live in the South, but I'm not from the South. And I hear all kinds of, we'll just use inbred, okay? Accents on a daily basis, some more than other. And then occasionally you'll hit an accent that's like, where the hell are you from? So I never have to visit that place. So there's extreme cases in everywhere. I was watching this video. I know I mentioned it before, about a month ago or whatever. And it was some video that got recommended to me because it was about firearms or something. So it was this girl shooting off firearms, and she was cute. She was doing it in a safe way. Okay, I don't condone irresponsible behavior with things like that. And until she opened her mouth, and I'm like, I don't know what part of the country you're from, but I've never been there. Wow. Don't you know? You betcha. Don't you know? You betcha. Yeah, she was really difficult to listen to in that Fargo. Yeah. I got a couple, three people I follow on YouTube, and they're from the northern part of the United Kingdom. And I swear I can't understand anything they say. I shouldn't say that. I understand about a quarter of what they say. And one of them is really, you want to have fun? You take somebody you don't understand or has a really heavy accent and put subtitles on and see what it supposedly says that they're saying. That's funny. Not very useful. Yeah, if I was exposed to those people all the time, I probably would, be able, oh, that's what you're trying to get at. Got it. You know. Up until the 19th century, most people didn't travel more than 10 miles from home. Everybody worked from home. It's easy to work from home when you're a peon, when you're a peasant. Charlie don't surfs and surfs don't travel. If they were from Glasgow, you wouldn't understand anything they said. Yeah, it's not the accent. Do they realize that they're skipping a lot of words when they're saying a sentence? I don't think it's the pronunciation. It's just the skipping of the words. And I just don't know which words are normally skipped, so I'm not able to follow, I was listening to commentary about a year ago on an album by David Coverdale. If you don't know who David Coverdale is, I'm not going to explain it to you. And he has the most interesting accent that I've heard in a long time because he's almost kind of like a pirate. He almost sounds like a pirate. And he was really interesting to listen to. Like, he probably drives everybody crazy because it's American, it's pirate, and it's British. and it's like all of the above, all at the same time, and it's actually really very easy to understand. But I was like, okay, make up your own accent, David. I have trouble sometimes ordering fast food. Sometimes everyone there is Latino. Everybody in Glasgow is Latino? So I've encountered quite a few people that speak Spanish where I work. And one of them in particular, one guy I can't understand in English or in Spanish. And a lot of it is just some guys just never been to school, they may speak one language or the other, but yeah, I have trouble understanding some of them. Not generally, but. Okay, I think we're done with this El Horso. All right, where's the color we're going to use for the jacket? Well, who are we going to pair this guy with? Either this guy or this one. Not him. The horse is the same. He's getting paired with this fellow. He's got a fair amount of like fur on him. Yeah, that color be fine. That color be fine. New style bottle. I don't know why they switched to this. You guys notice this? The new one almost has like a more of a neck. Bit smaller milliliters. They always do shit like that. Nope, still 17. Was the Huns or the Mongols that wore silk? I would probably say that it's probably the Mongols. Because the Mongols were around when the Silk Road was around, and the Huns just... I don't know why it is they took the UPC code off of it. So you have to enter these by hand when you put them in your inventory. When I was young, my parents had some, I don't know how to pronounce that, Glaswegian is how I would say it, friends who come down to visit. I couldn't understand a word they said. Yeah. Well, it's Norwegian, so that's got to be Wegian. Glaswegian. Glaswegian. Fellows from Glasgow. You guys are dying for me to paint some Scots, aren't you? And do some stupid Scots accents. Well, my stupid version of them. Oh, well, it'll still be better than most people in this country, so I know that's not saying a whole lot, but Glasgowans. That's how I would have thought it would have been, but just use the name of the city and add an S at the end. Does it make sense? No, we can't go with that. Okay, well, we gotta create the word somewhere else. My parents lived in Scotland for 7 years, so we're able to translate. He's from Yorkshire, in the north of England. Yeah. Yeah, but he has kind of his own little spin on it too. He spent a lot of time in the States, I think. There's that podcast, the Yorkshire Gamer, and I was actually able to understand probably over 95% of what they said, maybe even more than that. So maybe they just spoke slower. I was able to follow. So some accents, okay. I was listening to the Irish History podcast for a while, and still missed quite a few things. But after a while, after listening to it, you're like, okay, your brain works really fast. You're like, okay, well that's, I think he means that and not the other thing, and you just get used to it. The problem with the Irish History podcast is that the guy has the same sing-songy thing no matter what he's saying. Kind of like we were talking about Tick the other day. Tick kind of has the same ending to every single sentence that he says. It's almost like overly dramatic. And, after a while, you're like, all right, it's a bit too much of the same. Maybe I'd do the same thing. I don't know. But it's like if you ever listen to somebody and you catch them saying, and then that's all you hear is over and over again. That's all you hear them say in every sentence is just the same thing over and over again. And you can't, you gravitate towards that's all you're hearing. You can't even understand the content. It's just and you know. Glaswegians should be confused with Galwegians. Oh boy. Your great grandparents were from Scotland. Spoke perfect English. Like as much variety as possible in my armies. I do too. There's no point in building armies of just one thing when there's the whole world to go around with. I got something in the mail. Not in the mail. I had something faxed to us. And it had my name on it. And it was one of those. I swear I saved it around here somewhere. Did I save it? I don't know what I did with it. It was one of those from an attorney. I got news for you. I don't want to hear from attorneys whether they're real or not. So some fake attorney that had some, here's one of your relatives named Alan Aguilar, and he's from the United Kingdom. I forget where it is. And, he had this life insurance policy that, you're named on it for us to look into it or whatever. And the first thing when I picked it up, I'm like, I don't think anybody with my last name has ever been called Alan. Okay? I mean, there's probably an exception to it, but. And then second of all, I don't have any relatives on that island. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we didn't have anything to do with anybody on that island since 1588, and that didn't exactly go well. So I'm pretty sure you have me mistaken with somebody else. I'll be right back. pretty sure you did not do your research before you assumed that I was somebody that was uneducated that didn't know about that. I don't have any relatives in England. Not that I have a problem if I did, but pretty sure I don't. Family's not very big, anyways. You just finished 2 DBA Mongol armies for a club campaign game later this year. Where are Galwegians from? Because I've seen them in the Scottish list. Oh, from Galloway. Okay. Opens the first budget travel company in England. Yeah, I've read a couple of books about that. I don't think it'd be much fun to play. I don't mean because my side won't win. I'm just you got one side that's better at boarding, right? And you got one side that's faster, more nimble. It's basically not going to happen. I always wanted to do a scenario based on the Duke of Parma landing successfully. I was looking the other day. Wasn't there a set of rules for like skirmish renaissance called something along the lines of "Have Pike will travel"? I want to say there was, and I couldn't find anything on it the other day, and I swear that there was something like that. Have Pike will travel. Instead, play on Have Gun will travel. That Pike and Shot campaigns really is such a good game. I think it represents the period pretty well. Just wish it had a pip mechanism. That's really my only gripe about it. I was thinking about it the other day. I played it actually quite a bit. It's been a little while since I played it, but somebody posted from one of your guys' awesome shows in the UK, because that's where all the good war game shows are, where the best painters are, and or at least the painters I like the most. And it was some guy, and I think he printed his own figures, but he did like a Swiss in like the late 1400s and like 3mm or something like that, and the units look freaking fabulous. I mean, like fabulous. And I think the units were like maybe they might have been like this big as a credit card. But they had lots of little guys in rows and everything. I'm like, I showed that to Mitch, and it's not really a period that he's interested in. And all of a sudden, he was interested in it when he saw it. I think the guy actually printed his figures. Well, I'm still not getting a printer, but that Pike and Shot Campaigns is a great computer game, and it's available really, really cheap. It's available for like $10, or it's been available for like $10. It's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. And they got everything in there from $1490s to $1700. I don't really care about the 1600 stuff. I don't care about the 30 Years' War, English Civil War. It just doesn't really scratch my my itch. I'm a 1500s kind of guy, but I think it does the period really well. There's a lot of scenarios on the French War of Religion, which are that's actually really interesting because both sides are similar and dissimilar from each other. You know, and no matter what side you play, you get to do a ridiculous French accent. You know. Well, we got about 5 weeks to get these guys done. Doesn't look like I'm going to make it, but I will. If I could pull what I did with the Byzantines off, I'll be able to do these guys. So this next week coming off, the wife is out of town. She's on a work trip. So I'm playing single dad for a week. And my daughter's got a really busy schedule, so we'll definitely do some painting during the week. We're going out of town today, a little later. And we should come back early enough that we should do some painting tomorrow evening. That's why there won't be any painting in the morning. Not here anyways. Painting / discussion, ridiculousness, whatever you want to call this that we do. Okay, about done with that. So, there was a color I couldn't, when I was entering my colors, there's some colors that have been discontinued. One color is this one. It's a color I use a lot. And I probably bought this probably close to a long 2004, 2005, maybe even earlier than that. SS Camo Black. And I was wondering, that's going to bother a whole lot of people, because in the last 20 years, people can't say SS with a straight face. So now it's called German Camo Black Brown. So we're going to try that out for this fur and see how that turns out. We're going to use the new one, which might be slightly different. Yeah, you can't have any SS things now. I don't understand. Why not? They're rat bastards. You don't have to celebrate them. You certainly don't have to forget about them, So they were rat bastards, Looks the same. Now it's just German camouflage, not SS. It's the little black brown colors on their camo smock color, I'm sure. Unless it's a muscle car. There you go. Super Sport. I've never driven one of those muscle cars. I don't think I'd enjoy it. Too loose. Steering too loose. Slippery all over the place. So last weekend I was talking about I was going to have to take my car in for tires. That's been really weird. And first of all, I should preface it with my car is damn near brand new. It's got right at 15,000 miles on it. And I've had it for a year and change. It's a lease. I have no problems with leases. I've done them before. But the low pressure light came on, so I took it to go check it out, expecting them to find a nail or something. And then have like a big dilemma about whether or not I should replace the tire. And if I replace the tire, it's going to be one that's out of whack and they're not going to have it in stock because it's not a standard tire. It's nothing super weird, but it's not something they're going to have in stock. And if there's anything that this day and age is known for, it's being out of stock of things. So I was like stressed out about, making the wrong decision, etc. So I go and I take it to the place last Sunday. And I said, hey, check this out. Let me know what my options are. I'd really rather you plug it. Not because I don't want to replace the tires, but I don't want to replace the tires now when one be like way out of whack. So they called me back and said, we didn't find a nail in your tire. Okay. So what is it? I said, we couldn't find anything wrong with your tires. But I noticed that you need 4 new tires. I said, what do you mean? I said, I can't even find the wear bars on them. And I know when I got the car from the get-go, it looked like, not all tires are the same, okay? Standard tires have they have deeper crevices or whatever. I have low-profile tires on my car. It's a sporty car, and it doesn't have the gaps between the tread are wider than normal and shallower than normal, even from the get-go. So the guy doesn't know what he's talking about, because there's no way it needs new tires. It grips like a fiend. It's rained like a mother the other day, and it's freaking solid. So I'm like, okay, well, it's just some kind of a fluke or whatever. So the other morning, Thursday morning, the tire light came on again in the morning with low pressure light. I wish that was never on cars. I wish they never had the low pressure thing on it because something's going on. I don't know. Maybe the sensor in there is bad, but that does not bode well for me to want to keep it. I think they're just making cars too complicated. There's just too many things in there that don't need to be on the car. You don't need a low pressure light on the car. It's just something else that can break down. I want air conditioning. I want Bluetooth. What else? That's it. Horsepower. I'm digging the all-wheel drive. I like that. I like that a lot. Mongol Conquest and Ilkhanid, but I can do now every version of Mongol for DBA. That's awesome. I hope you do some special rules for them. We're gonna do some scenarios with these Huns when they're done, and we'll see what we come up with. Maybe we'll come up with some, not stuff to run in regular tournaments, just stuff for scenarios, and I think it'll make them really cool. And same thing with the Mongols kind of thing, Deactivate the sensor. How do I do that? I know. Look it up on YouTube. Good morning, Rhett. Wolfman, welcome. Lunchtime, goodbye. What, you can't listen to it with your mouth full? No, they just make too many things too complicated. I want Bluetooth. I want air conditioning. I want a clutch. Everybody's like, I want an electric car. I'm like, I like my clutch. I'm actually okay with electric vehicles, but can we get all the materials here to make them? No, it's even worse. I'm against them then. Can we get all our materials from the Western world to make them? Or, Eastern world that's not our enemy. How about that? But that's weird, so I may have to look into deactivating the sensor. One thing that I absolutely hate is I hate running lights that are running all the time. So the very first thing I did, my car has them on constantly. It's the first vehicle that you can't deactivate them. Well, you can't deactivate them without screwing with it. So I screwed with it. I went and unplugged it underneath the horn or whatever, so I have lights when I want them on and not when they're just running all the time. Because the first thing I did is I replaced all my lights with LEDs. So when you do that, your running lights on my vehicle are high beams. So I was like blinding everybody. It's like, well, that's not going to work. So I deactivated them. So I have lights when I want them. They're just running all the time. Because I don't want to, your light will go out and then you'll get a ticket for it. And don't say it never happens, because the first ticket I ever got was for having a headlight out. There's not enough crime in this town, so you've got all these cops that are, looking for every excuse to kind of keep their job. So I'm not anti-cop. I'm anti-stupid tickets. Hugh Carroll, good morning. You spent a week listening to Japanese teachers, and I kept hearing the word ano. So when I finally asked the translator what it meant, I was surprised to find I had to pick up all the ers. Interesting. I think it happens because our brains are moving faster than our mouths are, or the other way around. Yeah, I'm the one wanting a car with standard transmission. The new generation doesn't even want to drive. Dude, I would have driven if I was 10 years old. If I could be 10 years old and driving a car, why? Why not? It's fun. Well, we weren't made of money. I wasn't raised poor, but I wasn't raised, like, here's a car, kid, I would have driven it when a kid. Your responsibility is empowering. It's not good to be a serf. It's good to do things for yourself and, I know several people that they just don't want to drive. How can you not want to drive? Why would you trust somebody else better than you would trust yourself? Like, I can't really trust myself with not killing myself. I'll put my life in your hands. Like, what kind of logic is that? I don't know. I'd be a terrible millennial. Or whatever the new... What's after millennial? Generation Z? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I go on a road trip. My preference is to be the driver. That's my preference. And I am not a crazy driver. Maybe that's why my preference is. I like getting up to the speed limit quick. And not hang out next to people that drive like they got a death wish. And not follow too close. That drives me crazy. And it's worse every day. You see people out there that... I've seen people on the highway routinely reading a book. Like literally a book with pages while you're driving. Like, death wish. I can't do stuff like that. I got too many things I got to live to paint for. Live to paint for, paint to live for. You're a terrible driver. Really? I'm sticking to making the super heavy cavalry and the cataphracts to give them a chance, give the game a better feel. Well, give me about a year, see what we come up with. Got some good ideas, but I don't want to steal my own thunder. I got some good ideas that I think will look good on paper. We'll see if they work well in practice. A lot of people just don't play test stuff. You know, they don't play things enough times. All right, time to give this guy a facial. Kevin, I think you're the first person that's ever admitted that they're a bad driver. That doesn't mean you're the first person that is a bad driver. You're just the first person that admits it. Too many people are afraid of, like, bringing up their shortcomings. I'm not. There's some things I'm not good at, and I don't want to be good at them, and I'm never going to be good at them, even if I want to be good at them. Multitasking is one of them. I'm not a good multitasker. I don't want to be a good multitasker. I don't want to be involved in 12 things and not finish any of them. I'm not good at it. Lots of people aren't good multitaskers. They just won't admit it. And the solution to that is they shouldn't have you doing 12 things at once and not finish any of them. You don't need to be a good multitasker. You need to be good at prioritizing, which I am good at. Okay, you barbarian looking. Does anybody go around saying, hey, the Huns are the good guys? I know there's lots of Mongol lovers. I know a couple of people that are just think the Mongols shit don't stink. And that doesn't determine whether I'll build Mongols at some point. But we got to make them a little bit more interesting to play with before I do that. So once Mitch got the Han Chinese, I'm like, well, we gotta try it out with the Huns, because I knew he was going to be excited to play the Han Chinese for a while. So you have a Golden Horde army, and a Mongol Conquest army. I try not to use the same miniatures on different armies. If I'm going to paint them, I do the same thing, Kevin. I'm a painter first. As a matter of fact, somebody was talking on the Fanaticus group about Anatolian Turkoman. They brought it up the other day, maybe even yesterday or the day before, and they're like, hey, how different are they from the Ottoman Turks? And I'm like, well, let me look at them. I'm like, oh shit. So I start looking through them, and I'm like, I got extra the Ottoman Turk figures. I could build an Anatolian Turkoman army, but I don't want to use the same figures. I mean, I don't mind using the same figures. I don't want to, I want to paint so they could fight each other. And they do. They're enemies of each other. And then I found a cool flag for them. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I just love flags, and these guys just don't. They don't have a flag. They're going to have yak tails. Well, that sounds sexy. Although I'm probably going to do a banner for the white Huns. You guys want to see the white Hun elephant? You guys want to see what I have planned for that? I'll take a little bathroom break. I'll be back. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see what figures I plan on doing, because I got it right over here. How many Huns have you painted so far? I've got one stand done, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the 7th guy. Say, Holden Horde got his name because Commander had a golden tent. How would I paint it? Well, for starters, I would give that army a banner that was golden in color. Because I think they have some kind of like a black type of script something. So I would give them a golden banner. I mean, it wouldn't be a, huge flag. It would just be like that's just the first thing I'm thinking right off the bat. A golden tent, I wouldn't make the whole thing gold and nothing else. I would probably do it golden trim in some other color. I don't know. I would do it after I do the whole army, but yeah. You don't mind mixing all pretty much match, paint 65%? Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back. And I'll show it to you. All right. Let's move these guys to the side. Let's close this up. This won't take long, but let's just move it off to the side. I got to keep things mixing up to stay interested. Otherwise, I'll be like, I'm freaking bored. So I don't mind going off on these little tangents. Okay, so white Hun elephant. I want to use this armored elephant. First of all, they don't know shit about him other than they supposedly they rode with 10 halberdiers. I forget exactly what the wording is. And had swords attached to the tusks. So this is the elephant. Really? This is the elephant that I'm going to use, which is a museum elephant. And I want to say it's a Timrid elephant. Now, it's not going to have metal armor on it. I'm going to paint it like it's scale. So it's going to be probably significantly brown looking. You put that much armor on it, it's not going to be able to go very fast, considering it's got a tower on it. The tower is this one, and this is actually a tower that originally had like a rocket launcher on it. Here's the tower portion of it. It actually has a hole in it, and there's no hole here. So the idea is that this rocket launcher goes up here. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't imagine an elephant being really happy about rockets being launched off its back. So we're going to nix that. And besides, that's pre-rocket anyways. We're going to keep that. The figure that's on here is armored, and he looks very Mongol-like. So we'll just have to deal with the fact that this guy's got advanced armor on it. I'm sure I'll be okay with it. I like this elephant. It'd be cool. And I actually have another army for the Timurids. Another elephant for the Timurids. So if I ever get around to building a Timurid army, I won't use this elephant. And there's nothing wrong with this element. It's actually a really cool figure. Probably going to have to position him towards the back to try to get most of the elephant on the stand, which is sometimes a problem. I picked up these halberdiers. I picked up these Mongol dismounted infantry, and they come 2 poses in the pack of 8. And I'm going to put these guys on the ground. His armor is going to be leather-like. We're not doing metal armor on him. And we're going to try to put one guy down here. These don't stand really well for whatever reason right now. The Essex guys sometimes have really diminutive type of bases. We're going to put a guy back here. And we're going to put a guy over here too. Or something like that. Away from the trunk. And then in the tower, this is an actual Hun bowman that come in packs of 10, and every single one of them is exactly the same pose. Obviously, we'll cut the stand off here, so it'll just be up here. So up here at the top of the tower. And I've got a bunch of these. This is a minifigs figure that is part of the Tang Chinese line. And they have a similar type hat. I may modify him a little bit and put him, and I'm gonna have to modify him somewhat because as you can see, they're shooting the arrow like way up at like a 45-degree angle. Not gonna be really effective if you're doing that from the back of the elephant. You're not gonna hit anybody unless it's like 10 miles away. I'm exaggerating, of course. But we may have to modify him to where some of his legs are hidden in there, so that he can shoot more like at this type of an angle. But that's what I plan on doing. That's what this stand is going to consist of, at least for now. So I think it's going to look super, super freaking cool. And I may even put a banner on here. We may end up doing a banner or something painted on the side or something, because I've got some white Hun type of things I can do. But that's the plan. You like the Timurid army. Not if you're on the receiving end of them. Mongols figures I bought up in the 80s, still for sale at Viking Forge. I don't think they're very Mongolish looking. Yeah. And then the camp, I've got some... Let me show you these guys because they're really cool and they're out of production. This one, I don't mind having extra figures because when I bought these, I had no intention of ever building a Hun army. These are Roundway. Yeah, the Timurids are really cool. Cool looking. And these are from the Mughal range from Roundway. And here's some nice looking Bactrian camels. So I'm probably going to use 2 of them on a 40x40 stand that'll also double as baggage. Now look how innovative this is. There's these bags that go on here, right? And they're all one piece. And they just fit right over the hump. That's freaking cool. So we're probably going to put 2 of these on a 40x40 stand and it'll be because I don't have any yurts. I do have a yurt, but I don't know. Maybe we'll do both. But this should work well for the white Huns. They're over there in that zone. But it's actually a nice looking. I like Roundway a lot. A lot. And they're not, you can't get them anymore. It was difficult to get them before, and now that's why I like going to flea markets at conventions, and was so disappointed at Historicon that there wasn't anything cool at flea markets that people wanted to get rid of. Because I don't mind older figures. I don't have to buy the latest and the greatest. The old figures paint up just fine. So that's what I got planned on some of this other stuff. Hun units and many other armies, exactly. So if I ever build the Belisarians, Byzantines, a good proportion of their light horse is Huns. So I already got them painted. And for those of you guys that haven't seen it, this is the completed. I'll put my glasses on so I can make sure you guys are seeing it under. This is a light horse stand from them, and I really like how they turned out. I like these rustic armies. People are like, those guys look like shit. Well, they're kind of impoverished until they come and steal things from you, and then you can make impoverished looking troops look interesting. You picked up your Spanish glaive men today and just starting to paint them. Oh, it'll be interesting to see how they look. And how durable is that resin? Because if it's as durable as this is the resin from those skeletons that I got from Dungeon Torch, I believe is the name of the company. They're pretty, they're brittle, but there's no reason you should be breaking this stuff. This material is pretty awesome. Okay, so that's the little trip down what's coming up lane. All right. Yep. The magic drippings, as I like to call them. Expedition Conquistador. All right. I got to take a look at that before I get started. I hope it's not really cool because I got to travel this weekend. Then the cool thing about hold on, I gotta turn this off. I can't look at my keyboard. Expeditions Conquistadors. Well, that's awfully cheap. Weekend deal. Offer ends August 18th. It's 75% off. What am I looking at? Conquer the New World. Gold fame. Mostly positive. Ah, shit. Well, it's only $5. I'm going to get it. And the nice thing about getting things on Steam is you can play it for an hour, and if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. Oh, there's a bundle? Well, we don't need to get that much stuff. Create parties of... Okay. Ben Waddy, the enabler. Okay. Haven't checked recently on DBA on Steam. I don't know what that means. But that's how I ended up getting the... When Steam has a sale, man, that's when you get it. I mean, it's not like this measly 20% off that miniatures companies give you. And I'm not saying that miniatures companies need to give you more discount. They need to remain afloat. But freaking Steam sales are like huge. They're like 75% off all the time. I mean, okay, that game's 9 years old. All right, I've still never played it. Well, if it sucks, I think you get like an hour and a half or something to play it. If not, you just return it. You get your money back. Same guy that caused me to buy mispriced Essex Timurids. I don't know that Steam's working on DBA. I don't. There is a virtual tabletop or whatever it's called, that there's a DBA mod for it. But honestly, it's too much work. It's too much work for me. Like, I can just play somebody, in real life. The problem with playing things on a computer is, and I've encountered this a couple times, I've tried to play a couple of games with people that I know in real life. And it's a particular game. It's a game that I actually think pretty highly of. And called Lock and Load Tactical. It had so many bugs that it couldn't communicate with the other people that, you have to do it at a night when, your family's, okay, I'm going to go online, leave me alone for a couple hours or whatever. And you spend 45 minutes to an hour trying to connect with the other person in a glitchy system, and you end up like finally getting a game working, and then like 2 turns in, it stops working, and it's basically you pissed your time away, and you end up getting mad. I mean, end up being like mad. Like, all I did was basically ignore my family, lock myself up in a room to get frustrated. So I don't want to play a game that has a lot of glitches, and because of that. 30 years ago, Naismith Roundway had a physical high street store. Well, they made figures in the back, a bit off the beaten path, but it was avoided. I believe it. I like them. I really, really like them. And since I mixed them with other manufacturers, I've got a fair amount of them in my armies. There used to be a place in Madison, Wisconsin called The Last Square that used to import them. I never order from Navwar because that's just ridiculous to fax an order and send a check and that nonsense. You keep losing me, so I'm out for a while I go game. Okay. Well, I may catch you tomorrow evening then. I won't be back normal time in the morning. Gonna go to Orlando. Orlando. That's the plan. Uh-oh, this is gonna need a cleaning soon, because, oh man. No, let's not do that right now. Yeah, I tried to play that virtual, I think it's called virtual tabletop or something like that. For whatever reason, that warmed my computer up like something fierce. And you could hear the fan, like, it's like, woo. I'm like, there's nothing going on in this game. It must be passing a lot of information between the systems, but it's like, okay, you can play like something that's constantly moving, but then this particular game, for whatever reason, is really just going crazy. It's called something like virtual tabletop. I bought it to play that DBA thing a couple years ago. Played one game of it, realized how much of a pain in the ass it was. And there's a guy that contacted me and said, hey, I'd like to learn how to play DBA. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I realized it's so much work for me. It's just easier to just do videos than just try to teach one person at a time. So there's a bad value. I bought something for about 20 bucks and used it for one game. It's okay. There's other things I've gotten an extremely good value on. They can't all be winners. Oh, this is the week that I said I might try that what do you call that thing? Where you get people to talk? I have it on my phone. Discord. Might try a Discord thing, setting up a Discord for this. Should be okay as long as everybody behaves. We don't really have a group of people that are out to cause trouble. But I'm serious, I'd rather do this than watch TV. TV is just a waste of time. About 10 minutes, I gotta sign off. We gotta start getting ready. Well, we need that going in. See if we can get this bow done. Oh, I used a new color without even knowing it for the horse. Medium flesh tone. That's cool. That's one I got yesterday. Realized I didn't have that one. I would never use it for flesh. It's way too yellow. Unless they're trying to get it to use it for something else. Not much good TV that you can't watch on YouTube. Very true. Very, very true. I was watching a show that somebody had. They put on a 6-hour program on the Franco-Prussian War, and it's really good. It's really, I don't know what it's called, but it's really, really good. Really professionally done. Better than most TV programs. In and out today. On my feed or just you? I hope the feed isn't acting up. Well, I've said before, I can't really control that. They must be sending the drones out today, and it's using up all the bandwidth if that's the case. Did you watch It Ain't Half Hot Mom on YouTube? I didn't. I searched for it and it was weird. No, I didn't. But I need to watch your latest video because it seems like it's interesting where you compare different figure sizes. I like stuff like that. I like that 13.5 millimeter, whatever you said that they were done in. I'm like, I guess that's the new normal. Like, okay, well, we need to sell figures. Well, how do we sell them? Let's make them a different. It's a different scale than normal, you know. Like they're Warlord, they're naval ships, right? And not only are they a strange scale, which I think there's other stuff in 1800, but they're on these flip flops. You know, just seems really kind of awkward. But you know, I've done a lot of naval gaming, a lot of World War II naval gaming in the past. That's what I started with. And I did it in 1/2400, and I think 1/2400 is too big. I would, if I had to do it over again, I'd probably do 6000, just so the game matches more than the game scale matches the figure scale a little bit better. And, you know, at the time, 6000 didn't exist. You know, we're talking early 80s. And now with all the 3D printing stuff that's available, and I've got some 6000 scale ships for modern, and they paint up really well. So I think one of the things I can do is I can set it so that we'll have less of a delay. But I think your picture quality is going to suffer. I think I mean to do that because I think it was TV channel called Story All History Stuff. Yeah, your comments are showing up like a lot later than in reference, and I'm not following. So I apologize for that. Maybe I'll do that next time. Next time I get on Sunday, we'll set it to less of a delay, but then it even warns you on there that the picture quality could suffer. You have 1/6000 scale fleets, you're very happy with them, yeah. My modern ones, I'm really happy with them. I just don't have an interest in learning the rules. That's one thing that's happened as I've gotten older is my interest in being the point man on learning new rules is basically out the window. I'm just not interested in it anymore. I'm still interested in painting, probably more than ever before. Just not interested in being the point man. Yeah, DBA's just burned me out, having to look shit up and getting shit wrong all the time for, you know, however many years it's been. And honestly, I'm kind of tired of explaining shit to people. Because I have to do, anything I have to do on a daily basis that I find frustrating, I'm not really willing to bring that into my hobby. So like a terrible job for me to be would be like to be a lifeguard. Be somebody who has to like constantly yell at kids, no running, no running, no running. Anything that you have to say the same thing over and over again, and that there's no cure for, that would be a bad job for me. Anything that's like, I'm going to burn all these calories and nobody's going to listen to me. It's like, fuck it. I'm not going to tell you, get killed. What other games does Mitch play? Let's see. They play some Maurice, DBN, Command and Colors Napoleonics, Star Trek Ascendancy. I think that's pretty much all they're playing these days. I haven't played a Star Trek game in a while. He's got figures for, he's got all his Napoleonics set up for Napoleon's battles, which I don't necessarily dislike, but I'm really addicted to finishing games. So that's a little too long for a game for a 4-hour session. And it's playing with somebody else's miniatures, so not a huge draw for me as a miniatures painter. And I have no interest in painting that period. They've got everything for it anyways. All right, we're going to call this one for the day. We should be on tomorrow evening, Eastern Standard Time, whenever I get back from Orlando. At least that's what the plan is. And, yeah. Got a little bit farther on this next Hun. Yeah, I've got 1, 2. Oh, I'm an idiot. Well, see, that's the problem with being nearsighted. I got this guy, it's half done. We'll come back and do him too. Yeah, okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more Huns completed. This guy started and another guy started. Plus the ones that, so here's the Huns we have so far. So a fair number of them. A fair number of them. So we'll do the elephant towards the end. We got to earn that. So